For Chapter 47. Lupe was waiting for me at the motel when I got home from school the next day. We squealed and hugged and then hurried to my room to talk. "How's your test?" I asked. I sat at my desk, which luckily I cleaned before going to school that morning, putting all my columns in my drawer. "I'm so glad it's over," she said with a sigh. "Me too," I said, then added quickly, I'm glad you were able to come over. We have so much to catch up on." "I heard about the offer," Lupe said. "What do you think?" "It's a lot of money," she said, plopping down on a chair. "I'd be lying if I said we weren't tempted." I nodded, completely understanding. It would help with college. It's not just college that's expensive, it's getting to college," Lupe said. "You know how the high school counselor says I should do all kinds of activities if I want to have a real shot at Stanford or Yale? I don't know how I'm going to juggle it all, or how my parents are going to pay for everything." I nodded as I listened. It all made sense. And yet, "But what about after we sell?" I asked. "Where would my parents and I even live? What would I do?" I was so proud to be the Calivista's front desk manager. I loved getting up in the morning and counting the keys of all the rooms that had been rented the previous night. I couldn't imagine it not being a part of my identity. Plus, this place felt like the last critical piece holding me and Lupe together. What would happen to us without it? "You'd have more time to do more writing," Lupe suggested. I sucked in a breath. Should I finally tell her about my column? Before I could decide, though, Lupe said, "Hey, you got anything to drink?" "Sure." I jumped up to get us cream sodas from the vending machine, telling myself as soon as I got back, I would come clean with her. I would muster up the courage and just say it. All the weeklies were crowded around the vending machine, debating the motel sale. "Can't believe they're not offering you and Hank a job," Billy Bob said. "And what's with only giving your dad minimum wage?" Mrs. T added. Fred shook his head. "It's not right at all." Hank walked over, adding, "It's just so typical of this country, and it's never going to change. Maybe I should just take the money and move to China. Give opening my restaurant another shot." "What?" I blurted. "I'm sick of constantly trying to fight for what I deserve," Hank said. "It's just so exhausting." I put a hand on Hank's arm. I totally understood, but going to the other side of the world was not the answer I wanted. I ran back inside the manager's quarters to find Lupe. Hopefully, the two of us could talk into staying. She was at my desk, reading. It took me a second to see that my drawer was open. She was reading my column. "What are you doing?" "I was looking for a calculator and I saw all these newspapers." Lupe frowned, turning to me. She held one up. "What is this?" I can explain," I stuttered, but she cut me off. "It's like she doesn't even care about our motel anymore. It's like all of a sudden she thinks she's too good for the motel." Lupe narrowed her eyes at me as she read out this particular line. "You wrote about me?" The color drained from my face and I took a step back, fear blocking my throat. Lupe's hand shook with fury as she reached for another piece of paper and continued reading. "She's so selfish. Even if she comes back, you should never forgive her. Stay away from Lupe." "I didn't read that one," I said quickly. "It was a letter from a fan." With tears in her eyes, Lupe shook her head at me. "I can't believe you wrote about me to all of China," she said. "I thought you were my friend." With that, she threw all the columns at me and walked out of my room.